it's really important as a small business owner to know what your sweet spot is, to discover that, and then look for those ways to continually innovate around that, because that allows you to become the person that your top clients go to for this thing that you do so well in their eyes. And they really see you as the expert in that area. And at that point, you have this significant competitive advantage. And I want you to know, as a business owner, when you have A players on your team, it's no longer dependent on you to figure out how to maintain that competitive advantage. All the A players come together and really support that through the micro innovations that they're bringing to the team.
You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question. What has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling. I'm the business psychologist, the author of the 4-Week Vacation and the How to Hire the Best series, as well as the founder of Tap the Potential, where we coach entrepreneurs like you to design sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. Because after all, we believe work supports life, not the other way around. Weekly on the Profit by Design podcast, we bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. Welcome back to the Profit by Design podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sabrina Starling, and I'm joined today by Kaitlyn Beaver. Kaitlyn is a success concierge on the Tap the Potential team, and she comes to us with a strong background in workforce development and marketing. I've asked her to join me on the podcast, but I've also asked her to join me in teaching the How to Hire the Best course because of her background in workforce development and marketing. I firmly believe those are some essential pieces that you all as small business owners need access to so that you can be successful in becoming an employer of choice for those A players you want to attract to your team. So if you have not listened to part 1, go back and listen to that, because we talked about what A players are looking for in the workplace and current trends in workforce development that you as a small business owner need to be aware of. Today, we're going to dig into the gaps, and I have some creative solutions for you small business owners for how you can bridge those gaps and really position yourself as an employer of choice. So that's where we're headed now. So let's shift here a bit and talk now about what are the gaps. And boy, there are some critical gaps to being filled, especially when we're paying attention to the workforce trends. So Kaitlyn, what are the gaps?
Well, we're seeing a few. I would say first is, that growing concern about skills gaps in the workforce, with so many companies struggling to find employees with the right skills for their open positions. And, according to a study by SHRM, 83% of HR professionals reported having difficulty recruiting suitable candidates in the past year.
That's what I hear from small business owners, is it's really hard to find the right people. And what I teach in the How to Hire the Best course, I really find this to be the best approach. We see it working over and over and over, and that is to take the focus off of hiring for skills and really focus on, number 1, identifying what your immutable laws are, and then number 2, identifying what the expected results are in that role. And so once you are really clear on, if the team member can only get one thing done for you in a given day or a given week, what is the most important thing they're going to be doing for you? Once you get clear on what that is, and then the next step is to identify the personality strengths needed to deliver that result exceptionally well day in and day out. So you're hiring now not for skills, you're hiring for immutable laws and personality strengths. And that assumes that you're going to be focusing on hiring entry-level people primarily and moving them up as much as possible. Now, I know in rapidly growing small businesses, that's not always possible. You have to hire at the higher levels and you have to bring people in. But always, if you can look at what training can I provide to bridge the skill gap, as long as I'm hiring the person who has the personality strengths and the motivation and those immutable laws, if you know how to bridge those skill gaps, you're going to be positioned so much further than the majority of businesses that are out there that are hiring. It's just going to help you move along faster. Kaitlyn, I know another topic that we hear a lot about are generational gaps. So share some perspective on that.
Well, I mean, we have so many different generations in the workforce now. So there can be gaps in our communication styles and our work expectations and even our attitudes towards work. And a study by Pew Research Center found that baby boomers, Generation X, and millennials all have different work values and priorities. And what we're seeing with some of the younger generations, the future of our workforce, is that we do want that work that supports our lives and the lifestyles that we have. And we want to be a gift from our gifts. We want to be able to utilize our strengths to be able to impact you, your bottom line, and grow your business.
Yeah. You know what? It's just mind-boggling to me when I think about all the different generations that are currently in the workforce, the communication breakdowns that happen, the expectation breakdowns that happen. And one of the tools there's a couple of tools that we use at Tap the Potential that I think are really effective in helping bridge this gap. One of those tools is the People Map assessment, where we're assessing personality strengths and Achilles heels, but this also gets at communication style. And when we can understand, no matter what generation we're dealing with, when we can understand how someone likes to communicate and how they see the world, then we can communicate to them in their language, how they preferred style of communication and how they see the world. And so personality assessments like the People Map, Clifton Strengths, these all help us to have greater understanding of who our team members are, regardless of generation. But then another tool that we use is we call it a user manual. And this is just a one sheet that really breaks down each person, and each team member is asked, what are the preferred times that you like to work? How do you like to receive feedback? What are some of your priorities? What are the things that are important to you? How do you spend your time away from work? What do you like to do for fun? And we share this across our teams so that everybody can have an understanding of who their fellow team members are. This is really important in a virtual work environment because we're not in the same office every day. And so we're missing some of that casual conversation that would just happen around the water cooler. But it's also very helpful in work environments where you do see each other every single day, and especially when you have multiple generations. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is as a business owner to understand the priorities for your team members. And because each one is going to have different priorities, each one is going to have something different that motivates them and keeps them showing up every day and bringing their best. And it's your job to know what that is and to tie in how you're developing them based on what their values are, what their motivators are, and what their priorities are. And so that's another area where having that solid A-player development plan where you're tracking all of that, because we don't have that many team members at Tap the Potential. We're under 10 team members, and I can't keep it all straight in my head. And so for businesses that have 20 or 50 team members, having a tool that is specific for each A-player that tracks all of this, that the leaders have access to, is so valuable and important. And so in the How to Hire the Best course, we will be sharing this A-player development plan. This is something brand new that we're bringing in, but it's going to be one of those tools that I think becomes critical to bridging these generational gaps, Kaitlyn, that we're seeing in the workforce. I know another big gap is engagement. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, employee engagement has been a hot topic for quite some time. We've seen it, especially amidst the pandemic. We're calling it different things, quiet quitting, quiet firing, things like that. And it's just a critical factor in really attracting and retaining top talent. But so many companies are struggling with really being able to engage their employees. And according to a study by Gallup, only 36% of employees in the US are engaged in their work. And that's just astounding.
Yeah. And, when I stop and think about what that really means for a small business, because when you are a lean and mighty team and you have under 10 employees, and they're only giving you a third of what they're capable of doing. Like, we just cannot afford to have these disengaged employees on our team. So that's why I love teaching business owners how you hire those A players and you put them in roles that play to their strengths so that they can be engaged. And another gap that I think is really interesting is the leadership gap in teaching effective leadership skills and having good leaders in the company. So once you're the business owner and you start hiring A players, you're quickly going to see that you need others to lead those A players. Once you're beyond 3 people on the team, you're going to need some help with leadership. And it really becomes necessary to look at how do we develop leadership in our A players. They may come in with this passion and this enthusiasm, but if we're not putting attention to how do we teach them good communication skills, how do we teach them to coach and engage others, we're not going to have good leadership. And all the research shows that team members leave supervisors and managers. They don't leave the business. They leave because of the person that they're reporting to is not a good leader or not exhibiting good communication. And so at Tap the Potential, we offer courses. We have an entire leadership development track. If you go to our homepage, you can find our hiring and leadership development tab and see everything that we offer. 2 of the key courses are Leadership Bootcamp and Coach Approach. And Leadership Bootcamp is just a 6-week course where we bring in your A players and we rapidly teach them how to think like a business owner and pay attention to what you, the business owner, is paying attention to in the business so that they can support you in leading the company. And then the Coach Approach course is where we teach coaching skills and how to have coaching conversations. And I think that, especially for managers who are new, is such an important skill to develop because it's very easy for an A player who gets promoted into a management role, that A player hasn't had leadership development. They will either hold on to a lot of responsibilities and not delegate well and become micromanagers when they do delegate, or that's the most common pattern. The other pattern is where they just delegate by tossing and they don't give good direction and check in. And so we really find that teaching the Coach Approach and what we teach in Leadership Bootcamp with regular communication and check-in and clarifying expectations, those blend so nicely to support emerging leaders in a company in developing the skills they need to help you retain your A players.
And your A players want it. Your A players want these opportunities. They want to know how to grow. And so being able to really focus on going from management skills to really honing in on your leadership skills and understanding the visionaries and the direction of the business, it's what they want to hear from you.
Yeah. And, everything that we've been talking about to this point really leads us right up to why is A player development important? So, Kaitlyn, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I do have some personal thoughts on it. I think that A player development on, a level for me and just in my experience is that it's really been able to help me shine in a way that I don't think I have ever been able to, even in my personal life. And I think that for our small business owners, it's really going to help improve productivity and profitability. Because like you said, when you're focused on A player development and you're really understanding their core values, their goals in and out of work, and you're able to align the two and show them your vision and champion them, you're able to see some increased productivity on their end because they're energized, they're excited, they want to bring you high quality work. And on the flip side, they want to be able to figure out how to support your vision and increase profitability in the business.
Yeah. When I started teaching how to hire the best years ago, a lot of the business owners that I encountered had teams that were full of warm bodies. And they would tell me they were keeping them on because they struggled so much to hire and get anyone to show up for work. And what was amazing to me is as I helped them to develop their ability to hire A players and they would replace their warm body team members with A players, they would come back a few months later and they would say, I cannot believe the night and day difference with having an A player on the team versus that warm body. And so we started really tracking what was the impact. And it really seems to me that an A player is going to be 900 to 1200% more productive than a warm body team member. And there's actually some research that backs this up. According to the Harvard Business Review, top performers can be up to 400% more productive than the average performer. So my experience is that A players are 900 to 1200% more productive than warm bodies. Harvard is saying, you know what, they're 400% more productive than the average employee. So warm bodies are not average employees. That's a step down than the average employee. And so that really tracks very closely with what we're seeing in small business. And so to have the potential, we teach these business owners that you don't need as many team members as you think you need, because when you know how to hire A players, they can get more done. They're more productive. And that's really important because payroll is the biggest expense in a small business. And when we can make your payroll smaller, a smaller expense. And what's really fun about this is the awareness that you can shrink your payroll and pay your A players better because you have fewer people on the payroll. And that allows you to retain your A players. So you're bringing them in. I always recommend that you look at paying at least in the 50th percentile. Try to be at around the 65th percentile of wages or salary. That's a really good place to start. But that leaves you a lot of room to be able to move your A players up over time and get them into the 90th percentile. But all of that hinges on them performing, and they're going to perform if you give them clear expectations and then move them up. And it creates an opportunity for you to have a highly efficient team, a highly efficient payroll, which all translates to profitability in the business. And so another key piece, just tying this all back to A player development and why it's so important. Let's talk, Kaitlyn, about better decision-making and innovation and what that means for A players.
Well, as you said before, I mean, A players often bring unique perspectives and ideas to the table. They're seeing your company through a fresh look sometimes. I know that for us at Tap the Potential, that happened. I mean, we were focusing on sales and marketing and being able to innovate in that way. I'm able to bring so many ideas that are new that we get to try. And I'm so excited for that. That energizes me. And of course, that energizes your A players. And where it really drives that decision making or that innovation, you know, I think back to what you were explaining about really understanding your vision. When you're developing your A players and they understand, well, how is the business owner making decisions? Or how is my leader making decisions? They can start changing and improving the way that they make decisions for your business or for your people. And I think that tied together, you really start to see diversity in your teams and with your leadership. And that means that you'll continue to innovate and you'll be more financially successful.
Yeah, and that just also ties into the discussion around the different generations in the workforce, because it's ideal to have different generations represented on your team who are A players, because they will have these different perspectives that really drive innovation. And innovation, we believe it's so important at Tap the Potential. It's included in our Tap the Potential solution. It's step number 3. And it follows after you identify the sweet spot in the business. So the sweet spot are your top clients, and you're always looking at what is it that you do for your top clients that they find so unique and valuable. And then you want to have your entire team innovating around that. And one of the things that's interesting about innovation is we often think we have to come up with these out of the, huge ideas like Elon Musk and something that's just totally out of the blue, creative and just, super, super innovative. That's not how most typical innovation happens. All the research shows that innovation comes from micro innovation, the accumulation of these micro improvements and how they come together and make a business very unique over time in the eyes of top clients. And so that's where A players can be so valuable, and why you want to be listening to the input from your A players, because they will say, well, what if we do this? Or, let's try that and let's see. And those are all those micro innovations. And then you track, you bring that learner mentality in and you say, well, did this work? Did this not work? Kaitlyn, one of the really fun examples recently that we've experienced on the Tap the Potential team is as we did VIP days with our top clients, and we've also done a retreat, Carson on our team has an acting background and he's teaching improv to our clients. And that, whenever we get our reviews back, that has been commented on repeatedly, is how valuable the improv experience was as part of just developing themselves as leaders through the training that we did. And that is something new and innovative. We've never done that at Tap the Potential. We never had somebody on the team with that background who could bring that in. And that's a micro innovation. Every one of us comes to work with a unique background, a unique perspective. So when we take the time as leaders to learn about our team members and do this A-player development, we will see opportunities that we can plug in people's strengths and their unique experiences to help us innovate and support our sweet spot and our top clients. So, and that just ties back into the competitive advantage. That ongoing innovation is how a small business will continue to be perceived as unique in the eyes of its top clients. So many small business owners are out there feeling like they're struggling with price competition and that they have to be the lowest price to get the business that they need. And you cannot be the lowest price and be profitable. That is a losing game. And so it's really important as a small business owner to know what your sweet spot is, to discover that, and then look for those ways to continually innovate around that, because that allows you to become the person that your top clients go to for this thing that you do so well in their eyes. And they really see you as the expert in that area. And at that point, you have this significant competitive advantage. And I want you to know, as a business owner, when you have A players on your team, it's no longer dependent on you to figure out how to maintain that competitive advantage. All the A players come together and really support that through the micro innovations that they're bringing to the team. So I think, now we need to talk, Kaitlyn, about, okay, we've got all these trends going on in the workforce. A players are very different than your typical team member. And small business owners, the only way to win and get A players on your team is to be an employer of choice for those A players. And when people come into our How to Hire the Best course, this is the mission that I assign. I say right off the get-go, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to become an employer of choice for the A players you want on your team. That means paying attention to you, the business, and seeing it from the eyes of the A players on your team. And what does the culture look like? And what's going on in this business that would make an A player want to be there? So, Kaitlyn, from the workforce perspective, what are you seeing that A players are looking for?
They want to know about your company culture and your values. They want to know why buy into your brand, your mission, your company. So showcasing what your culture is like and what your values are can be so attractive to your A players, and in particular, the next generation of our workforce. Because when you leverage your website and you leverage social media channels and you're putting things in your recruitment materials, like your job description, you're basically able to share what it's like to work for you, what it's like to invest in putting your faith and your time and your resources into working with you. And that's something A players want to see and they want to understand and buy into.
Yeah. And, if you go to any company website, especially larger corporations, you can find their mission and their values, and they sound very corporate speak. They don't sound real and authentic. And in the How to Hire the Best course, we teach you how to identify your authentic immutable laws and put them in everyday language. And so that when your team members are working in the business, they experience those immutable laws as very real. They can remember them easily instead of saying, oh, let me go look at the website so I can remember what our values are. That's not how this works. And so I think that creates a significant competitive advantage for small businesses. And, the other thing is I find it very valuable to have A players on video on your careers page talking about how they experience working in your company, because so like attracts like. So if you feature your A players, other A players will see them and be like, oh, I want to be like them. I want that kind of experience. And so when your A players are talking about your culture, that's where you're really going to position yourself to attract more A players like them. what about, this is a hot button for a lot of small business owners, offering competitive compensation and benefits. What are your thoughts on that, Kaitlyn?
I mean, it can be challenging, I understand, but there are so many different ways that you can offer value to your A players. And everyone has something different, to your point of what an ideal schedule looks like. What is a great place to work for look like? But flexible scheduling is a great place to start. And there's also fun, unique benefits like wellness programs and even pet-friendly offices, which would be really fun. But just find that way that really speaks to your A player audience. What are the things that are so unique that could help you really stand out? Because it may not always be that salary. It really may just be the company culture and the ways that you're offering value so that people are energized and excited to come to work.
Yeah. And, we survey the A players on our clients' teams. And yes, compensation and benefits does come up. But, as long as you're trying to stay in the 65th percentile as you're bringing people in, you're going to be competitive. You're not so low that you're out of the game in their eyes. And then if you have that really good culture, in my experience, hands down, that's going to help you attract A players to your team, is your culture. But the intangible perks, I would encourage you to talk to your A players and ask them what they value about working for you. You'll be really surprised to hear compensation and benefits don't come up very much. If they do come up, they're kind of like afterthoughts, like, of course I want to get paid. And if you want to give me a raise, that would be great. But here's what I really value. And so it's the experience that they're having day to day in the company. And respect that comes up over and over. I feel respected here. We're a family environment. We're looking out for each other. Those kinds of things, if you have that going on in your business, you want to put that front and center on your careers page. It needs to be in your job ads. It needs to be in your social media as you're advertising open positions. And even when you're not advertising open positions, you want to be putting social media out there that really emphasizes the culture of the company. Kaitlyn, with your background in digital media and workforce, what are some tips that you would give our business owners around how to really leverage social?
Well, I think no matter what social media or digital marketing medium you're on, there are so many ways to cast a wide net. And I think first and foremost, really thinking about your core values and your mission and being able to share that is a really great way to attracts like. And I think that when you're really showing people how you're showing up for your customers, what differentiates you from all of the other competing companies, that's really going to stand out. And that's going to build your brand in and of itself. And by highlighting different employee stories and testimonies, not just on your career page, but do it on social media. Take short videos of them giving their why. Why is this such a great place to be? What do you love about working here? I think that it really resonates when you can hear from another A player what that really looks like. And I think ultimately, if you can understand the sweet spot in your business and you can understand what makes you so unique in the marketplace, that is going to shine through in your content. And A players are going to say, "Ooh, I can do that. I want to stand behind a business that are doing these things." And something that I love about the clients that we work with is that they have a servant heart. So they're out in the community doing these things and making an impact. And if they're pushing that out on social media, A players are going to go, "Wow, my impact goes far beyond our customer base and our team. It's actually out in the community as well." And there are so many different ways to leverage this.
Yeah. Kaitlyn, you've brought so much good insight today and energy into this discussion around, what we need to know about A players, what workforce trends are, how we need to position ourselves as employers of choice. I want to acknowledge to the business owners listening to this, we know you're busy and you're hearing this and you're all fired up. You're like, yeah, I want to be that employer of choice. And then your next thought is, how am I going to find time for that? And where do I make time with all the other things that I'm juggling? And so what I want to share with you is that in the How to Hire the Best course, I have broken this up for you in small bite-sized bits so that over the course of 5 weeks, you can take one action step forward that builds on another, that builds on another. And before you know it, in 5 weeks' time, in the midst of your busy life and busy schedule, you have created your How to Hire the Best system in your business. You have that system for attracting A players. So the How to Hire the Best course is coming up again. The registration deadline is Friday, April 28th. So, but don't wait to the deadline to sign up. Go ahead and sign up now, commit to it. Say, you know what? I'm going to be that employer of choice. I want these A players on my team because I understand how they're going to impact my profitability. And so when you come into the How to Hire the Best course, we have video modules so you can watch the course material on your own time. They're short videos. You need to plan to spend about an hour to an hour and a half each week watching videos. And then each video ends with a move forward action step. And when you complete 90% of your move forward action steps, we will bring you in on the podcast and feature you in our Great Place to Work spotlight at Tap the Potential. So we're confident in doing that because we're teaching you how to be an employer of choice as you go through the course. The action steps you're taking are setting you up to be that employer of choice, to be that great place to work. And then you get to come on the podcast and talk about what you're doing to be a great place for A players to work. Well, that gives you a video and it gives you an audio recording. You can put that out in your social. It can go on your careers page, and it's third-party verification that you are indeed a great place to work. We give you a logo that says that. And then not only that, but you also come away with a solid job ad that is written very specifically to attract A players. And what we find about these job ads is the way we teach you to write them in the How to Hire the Best course is we weed out a lot of people who would normally apply. You're not dealing with them. So there's fewer applications that you're looking through. You have fewer people to interview because I teach you how to write this job ad that specifically speaks to those A players. So you're not having people blanket resume and send you applications and they're not a good fit and you have to sort through all that. That all goes away. I teach you some inside tricks as to how to filter really fast with that job ad. And then even as you go through the interview process, I show you, what to ask in the interview, how to conduct the interview, the step-by-step. I give you resources for that and tools. So your confidence in your ability to hire is going to go through the roof. But the other really cool thing that we're doing with the How to Hire the Best course is we have live Q&A. Kaitlyn and I are going to be on the live Q&A with you. So you come once a week, you're listening to the course material, you're taking the action steps, and then you have us to ask all kinds of questions around hiring, retention, leadership development, A player development plans. We're going to be there to support you and help guide you through that. So that's what's in the How to Hire the Best course. You can register at tapthepotential.com/course. We can't wait to see you in there and support you in hiring your A players. Kaitlyn, any final thoughts as we wrap up?
No, thank you so much for having me. It was incredible to share some of the great insights and latest trends in workforce. And I do hope that we will be seeing you at our next How to Hire the Best.
Absolutely. And head on over to tapthepotential.com/course, get signed up, and then we'll see you in the course. Thank you for spending time with me today. Join me in our Tap the Potential Mighty Networks community at tapthepotential.com/group. Share your aha moments from today's episode, ask me questions, and join in on the fun with your fellow entrepreneurs on the journey to designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. Isn't it time you take your life back? And finally, share today's episode with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.